Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Jess Palmer reacts to Mark leaving Golden Bachelorette. Joan Vasso's Golden Bachelorette journey is nearing the end. That means she has to make some tough decisions over who she is connecting with and who she isn't. Bachelor Nation host Jess Palmer reacts to Joan's decision to send fan favorite Mark Anderson home. Joan Vassos wasn't feeling it with Kelsey's dad. Joan Vassos strongly believed that her second great love was among the 24 suitors chosen for her on the Golden Bachelorette. But which one? She set off on solo dates with her suitors over the last few weeks to find out which man she sparks with the most. With the season finale rapidly approaching, Joan Vassos had to take a serious approach. In the latest episode, she skipped handing out individual roses on the group and solo dates. That put all of the suitors on an even playing field during the rose ceremony. Bachelor Nation fans had high hopes for Mark Anderson and Joan Vassos from the beginning. Viewers fell for Mark during his brief appearance on Joey Graziati's season of The Golden Bachelor. So why wouldn't Joan fall for him too? Mark Anderson finally had his solo date on this week's episode. Unfortunately, the conversation stalled. They eventually connected, giving Mark Anderson hope for a future with Joan. Unfortunately, she didn't feel the same. She sent him home ahead of the rose ceremony. Chalk, Jordan, Guy, and Pascal are the final 4 contestants heading into hometowns. Jess Palmer reacts to Mark leaving Golden Bachelorette. Mark Anderson was a sure match for Joan Vassos, or so viewers assumed at the beginning of the show. Jess Palmer opened up to Entertainment Weekly about the shocking elimination. He agreed with viewers that Mark was an early frontrunner. "If you had told me night 1 that Mark would be sent home before hometowns, I would have said you were nuts," he told the outlet. However, he ultimately agreed with Joan's decision. As wonderful as Mark is, I believe Joan simply had stronger connections with the other men. He also shared, for future reference, how Mark Anderson could have broken the ice with Joan on his solo date. He shared his go-to icebreaker. "During awkward silences, I generally opt for self-deprecation or an awful dad joke to lighten the mood. I went to buy some camouflage pants, but I couldn't find any. The mansion was quieter than usual, the tension thick as the women gathered around for another rose ceremony, hearts pounding with anticipation. But the air was tinged with something different this time, a sense of something about to unravel. As the lights dimmed and the soft, melancholic piano music played in the background, all eyes turned to Mark Anderson. Standing tall in his crisp suit, he had the world at his feet just days before. Now his departure from the Golden Bachelorette was about to become the most talked-about event of the season. Enter Jess Palmer, the seasoned host who's seen it all: heartbreak, betrayal, and, of course, true love. Yet even he wasn't prepared for the shockwaves Mark's exit would send through the show. In a candid, behind-the-scenes interview, Jesse shared his thoughts on Mark's unexpected decision to leave, offering viewers a rare glimpse into his perspective on one of the most surprising moments in Golden Bachelorette history, a moment of reflection. Jess Palmer, ever the calm and collected figure, took a deep breath as he sat down to recount the moment he first learned about Mark's decision. "You never quite expect something like this to happen," he admitted, his brow furrowed in genuine thought. Mark had been one of the frontrunners since the beginning. He connected with Joan Vassos on such a deep level, and I think we all thought he had a real shot at going the distance. Mark Anderson had entered the show with all the right ingredients for success: charm, charisma, and a heart seemingly wide open for love. But as the weeks went on, something began to shift. For viewers at home, Mark's gentle demeanor and thoughtful conversations with Joan painted him as the perfect suitor. Behind the scenes, however, Jesse noticed subtle changes that hinted at a deeper conflict brewing within Mark. "I remember during one of the group dates, he was quieter than usual," Jesse said, leaning back in his chair as if replaying the scene in his mind. "There was something heavy on his shoulders, something that wasn't there before. At the time, we chalked it up to nerves or maybe just the weight of competition getting to him. But looking back now, it was clear he was wrestling with something bigger. The goodbye that shocked everyone. When Mark approached Joan Vassos during their one-on-one conversation that evening, it was clear that something monumental was about to happen. The warmth in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by a quiet sadness. Joan, always perceptive, seemed to sense it too. But nothing could have prepared her, or anyone, for the words that followed. Mark took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Joan, I care about you deeply, and this experience has been incredible. But I have to be honest with myself, and with you. I don't think I'm ready for this journey anymore." The silence that followed was deafening. Joan, the epitome of grace, nodded softly, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of disappointment. "I appreciate your honesty," she replied, her voice tinged with understanding but also sadness. "I only want what's best for you." Jessie, who had watched the scene unfold from behind the camera, felt the weight of the moment immediately. It was one of those times when you could feel the energy in the room shift, he recalled. There was no anger, no drama. Just two people having a very real, very human conversation about where they stood. It was raw, and in many ways, it was the kind of moment that makes this show so powerful. Why did Mark really leave? Has viewers at home speculated about the reasons behind Mark's departure? Jesse offered his own take on what might have been going through Mark's mind. It's easy to forget that these contestants, especially on a show like The Golden Bachelorette, are older and have lived full lives before coming here. They've experienced love and loss, and they carry those experiences with them. For Mark, I think it wasn't just about whether he could fall in love with Joan. It was about whether he was truly ready to open himself up to that possibility again. Jess continued, his tone thoughtful. Mark had mentioned in previous interviews that he'd been through a lot in his personal life, and I think that weighed heavily on him. The idea of falling in love again can be exhilarating, but it can also be terrifying. It requires vulnerability, and I think Mark realized he wasn't quite ready to take that leap. Joan's reaction and the fallout. As for Joan, Jesse had nothing but admiration for how she handled the situation. "Joan is one of the most composed and resilient women I've ever met," he said with a smile. She didn't lash out or demand answers. She accepted Mark's decision with grace and wished him well, even though you could see the disappointment in her eyes. That's the kind of person Joan is. She's always thinking of others, even when her own heart is on the line. But Mark's exit didn't just affect Joan. The other men in the house were left reeling, wondering what this meant for their own chances. There was definitely a sense of shock among the other contestants, Jess revealed. Mark had been someone they all respected, and his departure created a ripple effect. It made them realize that no one spot is guaranteed, and that this journey can end at any moment. Jess's final thoughts on Mark's legacy. As the interview drew to a close, Jesse offered a final reflection on Mark's time on The Golden Bachelorette. "Mark may have left the show, but he left a lasting impression," Jesse said warmly. "He showed us that it's okay to be vulnerable, to admit when you're not ready, and to walk away when something doesn't feel right. That takes courage, and I think viewers will respect him for that." For Jesse, Mark's departure wasn't just a twist in the storyline. It was a poignant reminder of the complexities of love, especially later in life. "This journey is different for everyone," Jess concluded, "and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step away, knowing that it's not your time. That's what makes this show so real. And that's why we'll all remember Mark Anderson." As the camera cut, Jess gave a small, contemplative smile. He knew The Golden Bachelorette would move on, but Mark's departure had left a mark, one that would be felt for seasons to come.